The massive crystal chamber buzzed with electric energy as the ancient message played for the third time. Ambassador Krell's four eyes narrowed as he watched the holographic display show images of a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The Keeper's warning echoed through the room with a voice that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. "Do not attack the humans," the message repeated. "They appear weak, but they possess something we have never seen before. When threatened, they become something else entirely. Their capacity for war and adaptation knows no limits. We have watched them for centuries. They will surprise you." Krell's scaled hand slammed against the control panel, shutting off the transmission. His purple skin flushed darker with anger. Around the circular chamber, other Zephyrian military leaders shifted uncomfortably in their floating chairs. The air recyclers hummed quietly, the only sound breaking the tense silence. "The Keepers have grown soft in their old age," Krell announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 12 star systems. "Look at these creatures." He gestured at the display showing human cities, highways filled with primitive wheeled vehicles, and aircraft that still burned chemical fuel. They cannot even leave their own planet properly. Their fastest ships take months to reach their own moon. General Nex, Krell's second-in-command, leaned forward in his chair. "But sir, the Keepers have never been wrong before. They predicted the fall of the Mordian Republic and the collapse of the Crystal Worlds." "Times change," Krell replied coldly. "The Keepers speak of humans as if they were some kind of hidden threat. These beings fight wars with metal projectiles and explosive chemicals. Our plasma cannons can destroy their largest cities from orbit. Our shields can stop anything they throw at us." Far across the galaxy, Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the exploration ship New Horizon, staring out at the gas giant Jupiter through the main viewport. The massive planet's red spot swirled like a storm that could swallow Earth whole. Martinez was a career military officer who had volunteered for humanity's first long-range space mission. His weathered face showed the stress of 6 months in deep space. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," called Lisa Turner from the pilot's seat. Her fingers danced across the control panel as she adjusted the ship's sensors. "There's an object near Jupiter that doesn't match anything in our databases." Martinez walked over to Turner's station and looked at the screen. A small metallic object, roughly the size of a school bus, orbited Jupiter at a distance that put it just outside the planet's radiation field. It was clearly artificial, with smooth surfaces that reflected sunlight in patterns that nature never created. "Ryan, what do you make of this?" Martinez asked the ship's engineer. Ryan Bell looked up from his workstation, his young face showing excitement mixed with concern. "It's definitely not human technology, Captain. The materials look like some kind of metal alloy we've never seen before. And look at this energy signature." Bell transferred his readings to the main screen. "It's powered by something that's not nuclear, not solar, and not chemical. This thing has been here for weeks, maybe months." Amy Garcia, the communications officer, suddenly straightened in her chair. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from Earth. It's marked as Priority 1. "Put it through," Martinez ordered. The image of Dr. Helen Brooks appeared on the main screen. She was one of Earth's leading scientists, specializing in the search for extraterrestrial life. Her laboratory was located deep underground in Colorado, designed to be safe from any outside threats. But today, her usually calm expression showed worry. "Captain Martinez, we need you to stay exactly where you are and document everything you can about that object. We've been tracking similar probes in 7 different locations throughout our solar system. This is it, Jake. This is first contact." Back, in the Zephyrian Council chamber, the debate continued. The Empire's ruling council consisted of military leaders who had built their reputation on quick, decisive victories. They had conquered primitive worlds before, always with overwhelming force that ended resistance before it could truly begin. "The humans have something we need," declared Counselor Vox, pointing to resource charts that floated in the air before them. "Their planet contains deposits of rare minerals that would fuel our expansion for the next century. Iron, gold, platinum, and something they call oil. With these resources, we could build twice as many ships. And their population could provide useful labor," added another counselor. 7 billion beings who could work in our factories and mines." Krell stood up. his massive frame towering over the other council members. The decision is clear. We launch a demonstration attack that will show them our power. Once they see what we can do, they will surrender immediately. No species has ever continued fighting after seeing our plasma cannons in action. The vote was unanimous. Within hours, the largest Zephyrian fleet ever assembled began preparing for departure. 300 warships, each capable of destroying a human city with a single shot, gathered at the edge of Zephyrian space. On Earth, Dr. Brooks worked frantically in her laboratory, surrounded by screens showing data streams from around the world. Governments had been secretly informed of the alien presence, and emergency meetings were taking place in every major capital. The alien probes had made no hostile moves, but their very presence changed everything. The probes are clearly observing us, Brooks explained to a video conference that included world leaders. They're scanning our technology, our communications, our military capabilities. This isn't a peaceful scientific mission. Someone is gathering intelligence. President Adams appeared on one of the screens from Washington. Dr. Brooks, what are our options? Can we communicate with them? We're trying, but they're not responding to any of our attempts at contact. These probes are advanced beyond anything we can currently build. Whoever sent them has technology that's hundreds of years ahead of ours. In space, Captain Martinez and his crew continued their observations of the Jupiter probe. They had managed to get within a few hundred meters of the object, close enough to see details that both amazed and worried them. "It's beautiful," whispered Lisa Turner as she piloted the ship closer. "Look at those surface patterns. It's like someone carved designs into metal that flows like water." Ryan Bell's voice was tense as he reported his findings. "Captain, this thing is scanning us just as much as we're scanning it. Every time I run a sensor sweep, I detect return scans that are far more sophisticated than anything we can do." "Amy, any luck with communications?" Martinez asked. "Nothing, sir. I've tried every frequency and every basic mathematical sequence we know. Either they can't hear us, or they're choosing not to respond." Unknown to the humans, the probe was indeed listening. Every word, every scan, every piece of technology on the New Horizon was being analyzed and transmitted back to the Zephyrian fleet. The aliens were learning about human capabilities, human psychology, and human weaknesses. As the Zephyrian warfleet entered faster than light travel toward Earth, the ancient keeper warning played one final time in an empty chamber. The holographic image of the blue planet slowly faded as the message concluded with words that would soon prove prophetic. "You will regret attacking the humans. They will turn your empire to ashes." The first plasma beam struck the International Space Station at exactly 1432 Greenwich Mean Time. The explosion was visible from Earth as a brief, brilliant flash that lit up the daytime sky. Within seconds, emergency broadcasts began flooding every communication channel on the planet. War Master Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship Dominator, watching Earth grow larger on the main viewing screen. His fleet of 300 warships spread out in perfect formation behind him, their weapons charged and ready. The attack had begun exactly as planned. "Target the military installations first," Vex ordered his weapons officer. "Show them we can destroy their primitive defenses with ease. Once they see our power, they will surrender within hours." On Earth, sirens wailed in every major city. Colonel Pete Adams rushed through the corridors of the Pentagon, shouting orders into his communication device. Emergency protocols that had been theoretical exercises just hours before were now desperate reality. "All units, this is command. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. Repeat, we are under attack. All military personnel report to emergency stations immediately." Dr. Helen Brooks watched the attacks from her underground laboratory, her face pale as she studied the incoming data. The alien weapons were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They fired beams of superheated plasma that could melt through steel like it was butter. "The energy readings are incredible," she whispered to her assistant. "Each shot carries enough power to level a city block. How many ships are there?" "Satellite data shows at least 300 vessels," came the reply. "They're targeting our military bases, communication centers, and major population areas." Thousands of miles away in space, Captain Jake Martinez and his crew aboard the New Horizon watched helplessly as their home planet came under attack. The communication channels were filled with desperate calls for help, emergency broadcasts, and the sounds of explosions. "We have to go back," Martinez said, his voice firm despite the impossible odds. "Earth is under attack. Our families, our friends, everyone we know is down there." Lisa Turner looked at him with concern. "Captain, we have one small exploration ship against an entire alien fleet. What can we possibly do?" "I don't know," Martinez replied. "But we're not running away while Earth burns." Ryan Bell was already working at his engineering station. "If we're going back, we need to be smart about it. Our ship wasn't built for combat, but maybe we can modify some systems. The mining lasers could be weaponized, and we have explosive charges for asteroid sampling." The Zephyrian attack continued for 3 hours. Military bases around the world were destroyed with precision strikes. Major cities lost power as energy plants were targeted. But something unexpected began to happen. Instead of surrendering, humans started fighting back. In Colorado, Colonel Adams coordinated the defense from a bunker deep underground. "All remaining aircraft, attack pattern Delta. Hit them with everything we have. Nuclear submarines prepare to surface and engage." The human counterattack was small but fierce. Fighter jets launched missiles at the alien ships, only to watch them bounce harmlessly off energy shields. Nuclear submarines surfaced and fired their weapons, achieving the same useless result. But the humans kept fighting. War Master Vex frowned as he watched the battle reports. "Why are they still attacking? Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Any logical species would have surrendered by now." His tactical officer looked up from his station. "Sir, they're using some kind of primitive chemical explosives and metal projectiles. Their technology is even more basic than we thought, but they won't stop fighting." "Then we will have to teach them a harder lesson," Vex replied coldly. The ground, something remarkable was happening. Dr. Brooks and her team were studying every piece of alien technology they could find. When a Zephyrian fighter crashed in Nevada, recovery teams were there within hours. When plasma cannon fire left traces of exotic materials, scientists collected samples. "Look at this," Brooks said excitedly as she examined a piece of alien metal. "Their hull material is incredibly advanced, but it follows the same basic physical laws as everything else. If we can understand how it works, maybe we can find weaknesses." Megan Cole, a young computer specialist, made an even more important discovery. "Dr. Brooks, I've been analyzing their communication signals. Their computer systems are completely different from ours. They use quantum processing while we use binary code, but that means they probably can't hack our systems either." This discovery proved crucial when human forces captured their first intact alien vessel. A Zephyrian scout ship had been damaged by concentrated missile fire and crash-landed in the Australian desert. The pilot survived but was quickly captured by human forces. Sergeant Tony Vega led the team that secured the crash site. His squad surrounded the alien ship with weapons ready, not sure what to expect. The Zephyrian pilot was tall and purple-skinned, with 4 eyes that showed confusion and fear. "It's hurt," reported the medic. "Whatever they are, they bleed red just like us." The captured alien and his ship were immediately transported to a secure facility where Dr. Brooks and her team began the most important research project in human history. They had 3 days to learn everything they could before the main alien fleet returned. Captain Martinez and the New Horizon reached Earth's outer atmosphere just as another wave of attacks began. But this time something was different. Human forces were using new tactics that the aliens hadn't expected. "Lisa, take us down to the surface fast," Martinez ordered. "Amy, send a message to all human ships in the area. Tell them to converge on our position." What the Zephyrians saw next confused them completely. Instead of large military formations, humans began fighting in small groups that appeared and disappeared quickly. These groups used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and then vanishing before the aliens could respond effectively. Commander Beth Stone led one such group from her base in Texas. She had taken command when her superior officers were killed in the first attack. Her plan was simple, but effective. "We can't match their firepower," she told her soldiers, "but we can be unpredictable. They expect us to fight like they do, with organized formations and standard tactics. Instead, we're going to fight like humans. Her team used everything available as weapons. Construction equipment became improvised tanks. Civilian trucks carried explosive charges. Even crop-dusting planes were modified to drop chemical weapons that could eat through alien hull materials. The Zephyrians found themselves facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. When they destroyed one human position, 3 more appeared elsewhere. When they adapted to one tactic, humans switched to something completely different. War Master Vex received increasingly frustrated reports from his field commanders. "Sir, the humans are using guerrilla warfare techniques we've never encountered. They hide among their own population. They use their civilian infrastructure as weapons. Every time we think we understand their strategy, they change it." "How many casualties have we taken?" Vex asked. 17 ships damaged, 3 destroyed. It should be impossible. Their weapons are primitive. But the humans were learning. Every captured piece of alien technology was studied, copied, and improved. Dr. Brooks's team worked around the clock, reverse engineering Zephyrian plasma weapons and shield generators. What they discovered would change everything. "The aliens are more advanced than us," Brooks reported to the Emergency Command Center. "But they're not creative. Their technology follows predictable patterns. They build things one way and never change. We can use that against them." As the second day of fighting ended, something unprecedented happened in the history of Zephyrian warfare. Human forces had not only survived the initial attack, but had begun inflicting real damage on alien forces. They had captured intact technology, taken prisoners, and proven that advanced weapons meant nothing without the will to adapt and overcome. Captain Martinez landed the New Horizon at a military base that was still operational. As he stepped out of his ship, Colonel Adams was there to meet him. "Captain, we need every ship we can get. Are you ready to fight?" Martinez looked up at the sky where alien ships still circled like predators. "Colonel, we've been ready our whole lives. We just didn't know it yet." 6 months after the first attack, Dr. Helen Brooks stood in what used to be her small laboratory. Now it was a massive underground complex that stretched for miles beneath the Colorado mountains. Hundreds of scientists and engineers worked day and night, surrounded by alien technology that had been captured, studied, and improved. "Show me the new weapon," Brooks said to her chief engineer, a former NASA technician named Carl Davis. Davis led her to a testing chamber where a strange-looking cannon sat on a metal platform. It looked like someone had taken a Zephyrian plasma weapon and rebuilt it using human engineering principles. The result was bigger, louder, and much more powerful than the original. "We call it the hybrid destroyer," Davis explained with pride. "It uses their plasma technology but with our power systems. The aliens build everything to be efficient and clean. We build things to work no matter what. This weapon can fire 3 times longer than theirs before overheating." Brooke smiled as she watched the weapon charge up for a test firing. The beam that shot out was twice as bright as any Zephyrian plasma cannon. It melted through 6 feet of solid steel like it was paper. "How many can we build?" she asked. "We're making 50 per day now. By next month, we'll have enough to equip every ship in our fleet." Far above them, Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of his new ship. It had started life as a Zephyrian destroyer called the Swift Death. Now it was the human vessel Freedom, painted with Earth colors and equipped with weapons that made its original builders look like children playing with toys. "Captain, we're receiving the attack signal," reported Lieutenant Dan Foster, his new tactical officer. Foster had been a civilian mathematics teacher before the war started. Now he was one of humanity's best military strategists. "All ships, this is Martinez. Target the supply convoy and prepare to attack. Remember, we hit hard and we hit fast. Don't give them time to think." The human fleet had grown from captured alien ships and new vessels built using hybrid technology. Martinez now commanded 47 ships, each one crewed by humans who had learned to fight in space by doing it, not by reading about it in books. The Zephyrian supply convoy never had a chance. It was carrying food and replacement parts to alien forces attacking Earth. The convoy's escort ships were built for fighting other Zephyrian vessels, not for dealing with the chaos that human forces brought to every battle. Enemy ships detected, the Zephyrian convoy commander reported. They appear to be using our own technology, but the energy signatures are wrong. Their weapons are more powerful than they should be. Impossible, replied his escort captain. Human technology is primitive. They cannot improve our weapons. That was the last message the escort captain ever sent. The Freedom and her sister ships attacked from 6 different directions at once, using tactics that no military academy had ever taught. Human ships spun and rolled through space like dancers, making it impossible for the aliens to target them accurately. Lieutenant Foster watched his display screen as the battle developed. Captain, their formation is breaking apart. They're trying to retreat. Don't let them, Martinez ordered. Amy, signal all ships. Use attack pattern Chaos 7. Amy Garcia, now his communications officer on the new ship, smiled as she sent the signal. Pattern Chaos 7 was something only humans could execute. It required every ship to act independently while still working toward the same goal. No alien military mind could understand how it worked. The Zephyrian convoy was destroyed in less than 20 minutes. More importantly, the humans captured 3 ships intact and rescued alien prisoners who were beginning to question their empire's invasion of Earth. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Empress Zara read battle reports that made no sense to her. She was the supreme ruler of an empire that had conquered 12 star systems. She had never lost a major battle in her long military career. Explain to me how humans are winning battles against our forces, she demanded of War Master Vex, who had returned from Earth to report on the war's progress. Vex's purple skin had grown darker with stress over the past months. Your Majesty, the humans fight unlike any enemy we have ever faced. They take our technology and make it better. They use tactics that change every day. When we learn to counter one strategy, they invent 3 new ones. They are primitives, Zara replied angrily. They should have surrendered months ago. That is what we thought, Your Majesty. We were wrong. Back on Earth, the war had changed everything about human society. Factories that once made cars now built spacecraft. Schools taught children how to repair alien technology. Everyone had a job in the war effort, and everyone understood that losing meant the end of human civilization. Commander Beth Stone had been promoted to general and now led all ground forces on Earth. Her headquarters was built inside the ruins of New York City, surrounded by weapons that could destroy alien ships from the planet's surface. The next phase begins tomorrow, she told her staff officers. We're not just defending Earth anymore, we're taking the war to them. Ryan Bell had become humanity's chief weapons designer. His latest creation was something that gave even him nightmares. He called it the Evolution Drone, and it was unlike anything anyone had ever built before. The drones can learn from every battle, he explained to a group of military leaders. Each one shares information with all the others. When one drone learns how to defeat a new enemy weapon, they all know within seconds. They adapt faster than any living being could. The first evolution drones were launched from hidden bases around Earth. They were small, fast, and carried enough firepower to destroy ships much larger than themselves. But their real weapon was their ability to learn and change. Zephyrian Captain Morg was patrolling near Jupiter when the first drone attacked his ship. It was tiny compared to his heavy cruiser, but it moved like nothing he had ever seen. The drone seemed to know exactly where his ship would be before he decided to go there. Weapons officer, destroy that thing, Morg ordered. I'm trying, sir, but it's like fighting a ghost. Every time I lock onto it, it changes direction. And sir, it's learning our weapon patterns. My targeting system can't keep up. The drone didn't destroy Morg's ship. Instead, it studied every weapon, every defense, every tactical move the cruiser made. Then it transmitted all that information to thousands of other drones throughout the solar system. Within a week, no Zephyrian ship could survive an encounter with human drones. The small robots had learned every weakness in alien technology and could exploit them perfectly. Dr. Brooks received a priority message from intelligence. Teams who were questioning captured aliens. What they had learned changed her understanding of the entire war. The Zephyrian Empire is not as strong as we thought, reported Intelligence Officer Kate Wilson. They rule through fear and superior technology, but they've never faced an enemy that could match their technology and exceed their creativity. What does that mean for us? Brooks asked. It means we're not just winning battles, Doctor. We're proving to the entire galaxy that the Zephyrian Empire can be beaten. Their subject worlds are starting to rebel. Captain Martinez learned this firsthand when his fleet encountered a group of alien ships that weren't Zephyrian. They called themselves the Canary, and they had been slaves of the Empire for over a century. Human ships, this is Captain Jorak of the Canary Liberation Fleet. Came the message. We have heard of your victories against the Zephyrians. We request permission to fight alongside you. Martinez looked at his crew. They had gone from exploring space to commanding a rebellion that was spreading across the galaxy. Lieutenant Foster was already studying star charts, planning attacks on Zephyrian supply lines that would support the new rebellion. Permission granted, Captain Jorak, Martinez replied. Welcome to the fight for freedom. The war was no longer just about defending Earth. It had become something much larger. Humanity had awakened something in the galaxy that the Zephyrian Empire had tried to keep sleeping for centuries. The desire for freedom was spreading from world to world, and at the center of it all were the humans who refused to give up. General Stone received reports of uprisings on 17 different worlds. Each rebellion was inspired by news of human victories and supported by human weapons and tactics. The Zephyrian Empire was beginning to crack. They thought we were primitive, Stone told her officers. They were right. We were primitive. But we learned. We adapted. We became something they never expected. Engineer Bell put it more simply as he watched his evolution drones destroy another alien fleet. They made one mistake. They woke up humanity. Now they're going to learn what that really means. 2 years after the first Zephyrian attack on Earth, Admiral Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of his flagship watching an entire star system burn. The Kepler 442 system had been a major Zephyrian military base until 3 hours ago. Now, it was a field of wreckage and escape pods floating in the darkness of space. Casualties on our side? Martinez asked his tactical officer. Lieutenant Dan Foster checked his reports with satisfaction. 7 ships damaged, none destroyed. 0 human casualties. The evolution drones did most of the work before we even arrived. Martinez nodded as he watched the last Zephyrian installations explode on the nearby planet. The human war machine had become something that even frightened him sometimes. They were no longer the desperate defenders who had barely survived the first alien attack. They were predators, and the galaxy was their hunting ground. Signal the fleet, Martinez ordered. Set course for the Vega system. Intelligence reports. 3 more Zephyrian bases there. On Earth, General Lisa Turner reviewed battle reports from 17 different star systems. Her office was located in what used to be the United Nations building in New York. Now it was the headquarters for humanity's interstellar military operations. The walls were covered with star maps showing human advances across the galaxy. We're winning too fast, she told her staff. The Zephyrian Empire is collapsing faster than we expected. Their military is retreating from 6 major systems this week alone. Colonel Sam Parker, her chief intelligence officer, placed a new report on her desk. It gets better, General. We have confirmation that 4 more alien species have joined the rebellion. The Taraki, the Venlari, the Nexus Collective, and something called the Hive Mind are all fighting against Zephyrian forces. Turner studied the reports with growing amazement. How many worlds are in open rebellion now? 47 confirmed, with more joining every day. The Zephyrians are losing control of their entire empire. Dr. Helen Brooks had moved her operations to a massive space station orbiting Mars. The facility was built using captured alien technology, but designed with human improvements. It served as the research center for humanity's most advanced weapons development. Show me the new psychological warfare project, she told her team leader, Dr. Mark Johnson. Johnson led her to a communications center where technicians were broadcasting messages across the galaxy. But these weren't ordinary military communications. They were something much more dangerous to the Zephyrian Empire. We call it the Freedom Signal, Johnson explained. We broadcast the story of Earth's resistance to every world in Zephyrian space. We tell them how a primitive species defeated the Empire's best forces. We show them that the Zephyrians can be beaten. Brooks watched as technicians sent out videos of human victories, recordings of Zephyrian surrender ceremonies, and most importantly, technical information on how to build weapons that could fight alien forces. The psychological impact is incredible, Johnson continued. Zephyrian soldiers are surrendering rather than fighting. Their subject species are rising up everywhere. Some worlds are declaring independence without firing a single shot. Captain Amy Garcia had become humanity's chief diplomatic officer, leading missions to contact alien species throughout the galaxy. Her ship, the New Dawn, was equipped with universal translators and carried samples of every weapon design humanity had developed. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Altair system," reported her communications officer. "It's from a species called the Zenthari. They say they want to discuss joining our alliance." Garcia smiled as she reviewed the message. The Zenthari controlled 12 star systems and had been fighting a losing war against the Zephyrians for decades. With human weapons and tactics, they could become a major force in the rebellion. "Set course for Altair," she ordered. "Let's go make some new friends." On the Zephyrian homeworld, Empress Zara paced back and forth in her throne room while her advisors delivered increasingly bad news. The empire that had taken centuries to build was falling apart in just 2 years. "Your Majesty," reported General Kex, "we have lost contact with all forces in the Outer Rim systems. The humans and their allies control everything beyond the Rigel sector." "How is this possible?" Zara demanded. "We had the largest military in the galaxy. We had technology that no primitive species should have been able to match." War Master Vex, who had led the original attack on Earth, stepped forward with shame written across his purple features. "Your Majesty, we underestimated what humans become when they are threatened. They don't just fight back. They evolve. They become something new." "Explain," Zara ordered coldly. "They take our technology and make it better. They use tactics we cannot predict. They inspire other species to fight harder than those species have ever fought before. But most importantly, they never give up. Ever." The truth was even worse than Vex realized. Humanity had discovered something about warfare that the Zephyrian Empire had forgotten during centuries of easy victories. War wasn't just about having better weapons or more ships. It was about adapting faster than your enemy could respond. Ryan Bell, now Earth's chief military engineer, demonstrated this principle every day. His latest creation was called the Nightmare Generator, and it lived up to its name. The device broadcasts fear directly into Zephyrian brains, he explained to a group of military leaders. Their species is naturally afraid of chaos and unpredictability. This amplifies that fear until they cannot function in battle. The first test of the Nightmare Generator was conducted during a battle in the Procyon system. Zephyrian forces outnumbered humans 3-1, but when the device activated, alien soldiers began abandoning their posts and fleeing in panic. "It's like they're seeing their worst nightmares come to life," reported the battle commander. "Half their fleet is retreating without being fired upon." But humanity's most effective weapon wasn't technology. It was something that couldn't be built in a factory or programmed into a computer. It was the ability to make other species believe they could win. Commander Beth Stone led a diplomatic mission to the Centauri system, where a species called the Morphians had been slaves of the Zephyrian Empire for over 300 years. They had tried to rebel many times but had always been crushed. "We can teach you to fight the way humans fight," Stone told their leaders. "Not with superior numbers or better weapons, but with determination and creativity." The Morphian leader, a being that looked like a cross between a bird and a lizard, studied Stone with curious eyes. "Your species has only been fighting for 2 years. How can you teach us what we have failed to learn in 3 centuries? Stone smiled and activated a holographic display showing human victories across the galaxy. "Because we learned something the Zephyrians never understood. The strongest weapon in the universe isn't a plasma cannon or an energy shield. It's the refusal to accept defeat." Within 6 months, the Morphian rebellion had liberated their entire system using tactics learned from human instructors. Similar rebellions erupted across the galaxy as species that had been conquered centuries ago suddenly remembered how to fight for freedom. Admiral Martinez received reports of these victories while his fleet prepared for the largest battle of the war. Intelligence had discovered the location of the Zephyrian Empire's main shipyard, where they built their most advanced warships. If we can destroy their shipyard, we can end their ability to replace losses, Martinez told his fleet commanders. But this won't be easy. They're defending it with everything they have left. Lieutenant Foster studied the tactical displays with the intensity that had made him humanity's best strategist. Admiral, I've identified 17 different ways we can attack, but I recommend we use all of them at the same time. All 17. Attack plans simultaneously? Martinez asked. The Zephyrians expect us to choose one strategy and stick with it. Instead, we'll use every strategy at once. Their commanders won't be able to keep up with that much chaos. The Battle of the Great Shipyard lasted for 8 hours and became the most decisive victory in human military history. Zephyrian forces, trying to respond to 17 different attack patterns simultaneously, fell into complete confusion. Their legendary military discipline broke down as commanders received contradictory orders, and tactical situations changed faster than they could process. When the battle ended, the Zephyrian Empire's ability to build new warships had been completely destroyed. More importantly, news of the victory spread across the galaxy within hours, inspiring even more rebellions. Dr. Brooks received a message that summarized the war's progress in simple terms. It came from a species called the Wanderers, who had been observing galactic events for thousands of years. The Zephyrian Empire is finished, the message stated, not because humans have better weapons, but because humans have taught the galaxy something it had forgotten. The will to be free is stronger than any empire. As Martinez prepared his fleet for the final assault on the Zephyrian homeworld, he reflected on how much humanity had changed. They had started as explorers looking at Jupiter's moons. Now they were leading a galactic revolution that was reshaping the entire known universe. Admiral, reported Amy Garcia from her diplomatic ship, we have confirmation from 48 different species. They're all ready to join the final attack. The entire galaxy wants to see the Zephyr. The final battle for the Zephyrian homeworld began at dawn on a day that would be remembered across the galaxy for the next 1,000 years. Admiral Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as the largest fleet in galactic history formed up around him. Ships from 48 different species filled the space around the alien capital world, all of them following human leadership. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Martinez, he broadcast to the massive armada. Today we end an empire that has brought suffering to countless worlds. Today we prove that freedom is stronger than fear. On the planet below, Empress Zara watched the approaching fleet from her palace windows. The sight should have terrified her, but instead she felt only a cold acceptance. The empire her ancestors had built over centuries was about to fall to a species that had learned about space travel just 3 years ago. Your Majesty, reported her last remaining general, our planetary defenses are ready. We have enough firepower to destroy half their fleet. And then what? Zara asked quietly. They will send the other half. And if we destroy that, they will send more. The humans have taught the galaxy that we can be beaten. There is no coming back from that. General Lisa Turner led the ground assault. Forces from her command ship. Her armies were not just human anymore. Alien soldiers who had learned human tactics fought alongside Earth's warriors. Together they represented something the galaxy had never seen before. A truly united military force fighting for the same cause. All ground commanders, prepare for planetary assault, Turner ordered. Remember, we're not here to destroy their world. We're here to free it. Captain Dan Foster, now commanding his own battleship, detected the first enemy fire from the planet's surface. Massive energy cannons that could destroy entire cities fired up at the approaching fleet. But the Allied forces were ready. Evolution. Drones, engage planetary defenses, Foster ordered. Thousands of small drones, each one carrying the combat experience of every battle fought in the past 2 years, swarmed toward the planet. They moved like a silver cloud, dodging the massive energy beams while targeting the weapons that fired them. On the planet's surface, Zephyrian Defense Commander Brix watched in horror as his supposedly impregnable defenses were systematically destroyed by machines that seemed to think faster than any living being. "Sir, the human drones are learning our firing patterns faster than we can change them," reported his weapons officer. "Every time we adjust our targeting, they adapt within seconds." "How is that possible?" Brix demanded. "Each drone shares information with all the others instantly. It's like fighting a single opponent with 10,000 bodies." Dr. Helen Brooks watched the battle from her command center on Mars, coordinating the scientific aspects of the assault. Her teams had spent months studying Zephyrian technology, looking for weaknesses that could end the war quickly. "Activate the Harmony Disruptors," she ordered. The Harmony Disruptors were perhaps humanity's strangest weapon. They broadcast signals that interfered with Zephyrian brain patterns, making it impossible for them to maintain the rigid mental discipline their military required. Within minutes of activation, Zephyrian soldiers across the planet began experiencing something they had never felt before: doubt. For the first time in their lives, they questioned whether their empire was worth dying for. Captain Amy Garcia led the diplomatic phase of the assault, broadcasting surrender terms to Zephyrian forces in their own language. Her message was simple but powerful. "Soldiers of the Zephyrian Empire, you are fighting for leaders who started this war by attacking a peaceful world. You can end this by laying down your weapons. We offer you the same freedom we have given to 47 other species." The response was immediate and unexpected. Entire Zephyrian military units began surrendering without firing a shot. Some even turned their weapons on their own command centers, helping the Allied forces break through planetary defenses. Emperor Krell, the military leader who had originally dismissed the Keeper warning about humans, barricaded himself in the Imperial Palace with his most loyal followers. He had one final plan to deny victory to the humans and their allies. "If we cannot win, then no one can," Krell declared as he stood before a massive device that could destroy the entire planet. "I will activate the planetary destruction system. Better to die with honor than live as slaves to primitives." But Krell had made the same mistake that had doomed his empire from the beginning. He had underestimated human determination and creativity. Ryan Bell had designed a special infiltration team specifically for this possibility. The team was led by Sergeant Mike Torres, a former construction worker who had become one of humanity's best special operations soldiers. "The palace shields are too strong for our ships to penetrate," Torres reported to Admiral Martinez. "But they're designed to stop energy weapons and explosives. They're not designed to stop people who are willing to walk through the front door." Torres and his team did exactly that. They approached the palace and captured Zephyrian uniforms, speaking perfect alien language thanks to translation devices developed by human scientists. The guards let them pass thinking they were reinforcements. The infiltration team reached Krell's throne room just as he was about to activate the planet killer. The brief firefight that followed lasted less than 2 minutes. When it ended, the ORA device was disabled and Krell was in human custody. Empress Zara met Admiral Martinez in the same throne room where the decision to attack Earth had been made 3 years earlier. She looked older than her years, her purple skin pale with exhaustion and defeat. "You have won," she said simply. "The Zephyrian Empire surrenders unconditionally." Martinez studied the alien ruler with a mixture of respect and sadness. "Your Majesty, we didn't want this war. We just wanted to be left alone to explore the stars in peace." "I know," Zara replied. "That is why you won. You fought for something greater than conquest. You fought for the right to exist." The formal surrender ceremony took place in the capital city, broadcast to every world in the galaxy. Representatives from all 48 allied species stood together as the Zephyrian flag was lowered for the final time. Dr. Brooks addressed the assembled crowd, her words carried across the galaxy by relay stations on 1,000 worlds. "Today marks the end of an empire built on fear and the beginning of a galaxy built on cooperation. We have proven that no single species, no matter how powerful, can stand against the united will of free peoples. But the most important moment came when a representative of the ancient keeper species emerged from the crowd. The being was older than recorded history, and its words carried the weight of eons. "We warned that humans would turn your empire to ashes," the keeper said to the defeated Zephyrian leaders. "But we did not foresee the greater truth. From those ashes, they would build something better." General Turner oversaw the transition as Zephyrian worlds were liberated and their populations given the choice of how to govern themselves. Many chose to join the new galactic alliance that humanity had proposed. Others decided to remain independent but friendly. All were given the freedom to choose. Captain Foster, now promoted to admiral, took command of the new Galactic Defense Force. Its mission was not conquest but protection, ensuring that no empire could ever again threaten the freedom of smaller worlds. "We learned something important during this war," Foster told his mixed species crew. "The strongest weapon in the universe isn't a gun or a bomb. It's the willingness to stand up for what's right, no matter what the odds." Ryan Bell returned to Earth to lead the peaceful development of the advanced technologies humanity had captured during the war. Plasma energy was used to power cities. Faster-than-light travel opened up the galaxy for exploration and trade. Medical advances discovered in alien biology helped cure diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. But perhaps the most important change was in humanity itself. The species that had once been confined to a single planet now served as guardians and teachers for an entire galaxy. They had learned that their greatest strength was not their ability to fight, but their ability to inspire others to fight for freedom. Admiral Martinez, now in command of the entire human space fleet, stood on the observation deck of Earth's first orbital city. Through the windows he could see ships from dozens of different worlds coming and going, in peaceful trade and exploration. Amy Garcia joined him, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Alliance. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" she asked. Martinez nodded as he watched a Zephyrian merchant ship dock alongside a human freighter. Former enemies were now trading partners and friends. If they had listened to the Keeper warning, none of this would have happened. But then the galaxy would still be living in fear, Garcia pointed out. Maybe this is how it was supposed to happen. Dr. Brooks published her final report on the war in a document that became required reading throughout the galaxy. Her conclusion was simple but profound. The Zephyrian Empire fell not because humans had better weapons or superior numbers, but because humans possessed something that cannot be conquered: the absolute refusal to accept defeat. When threatened with extinction, humanity evolved into something the galaxy had never seen before. They became the species that would not surrender, would not compromise, and the sky over New Eden burned red that morning. Farmers in the outer settlements saw it first. Strange lights moving across the dawn sky, too many to count. Some thought it was a meteor shower. Others wondered if a new shipment was arriving from Earth. None guessed the truth until it was too late. Jack Nelson stood on the bridge of his patrol ship, the UES Sentinel. A mug of coffee cooled in his hand as he stared at the star map. The Sentinel and its 3 sister ships formed a small squadron tasked with monitoring this sector of human space. It was usually quiet work. "Commander, we're picking up a distress signal," said Susan Miller, his communications officer. Her voice was calm, but her fingers moved quickly across her console. "Source?" Nelson asked, setting down his mug. "New Eden, colony. Signal is fragmented. Heavy interference." Nelson frowned. New Eden was humanity's most successful off-world colony. Over 2 million people called it home. It had rich farmland, good water, and a perfect climate. Some called it better than Earth. "Put it through," he ordered. The speakers crackled with static before a voice broke through. "Under attack. Unknown ships. Weapons we've never. Civilians being..." The transmission cut off abruptly. Nelson turned to his navigation officer. "How far are we from New Eden?" 6 hours at maximum speed, sir. Set course immediately. Alert the other ships." Nelson pressed a button on his chair. "All hands to battle. Stations. This is not a drill." The squadron raced toward New Eden, pushing their engines beyond safety limits. Nelson sent urgent messages back to Earth, but knew help would take weeks to arrive. Whatever was happening at New Eden, his 4 ships were all that stood between the colony and disaster. 5 hours later, they picked up more transmissions, scattered emergency beacons, automated distress calls, but no human voices, just static, and silence where 2 million people should be. "We're approaching New Eden space, sir," the navigator announced. "Sensors at maximum range. Weapons hot," Nelson ordered. His mouth felt dry. As they entered the New Eden system, sensor screens lit up with debris. Pieces of ships floated in space. Some were colony vessels. Others were unidentifiable. "My God," whispered Miller. "What happened here?" The main view screen showed New Eden's sun shining brightly. Its planets were in their normal orbits. Everything looked as it should, until they approached the 3rd planet, New Eden itself. The once blue world now glowed orange and red. Where vast oceans and green continents had been, only fire and smoke remained. The colony's orbital stations were gone. In their place drifted twisted metal and frozen bodies. "Full scan of the planet," Nelson ordered, his voice hollow. The science officer, Ryan Powell, worked his console with shaking hands. Surface temperature exceeding 1,000 degrees in most regions. Atmosphere composition changed. High levels of carbon, sulfur, and... "Sir, there's radiation I've never seen before." "Life signs?" Nelson asked, though he already knew the answer. Powell shook his head. "None, sir. Nothing could survive this." Nelson gripped the arms of his chair. "Were we too late? Is whatever did this still here?" "Detecting energy readings at the edge of the system," Miller reported. "Multiple objects moving away at high speed." "Can we follow?" Nelson asked. The engineer's voice came through the comm. "Engines are already pushed beyond limits, sir. If we try to pursue, we'll burn out completely." Nelson slammed his fist against his chair. "Get me visual on those objects." The screen shifted to show distant points of light moving against the stars. Their formation was too perfect to be natural. As the computer enhanced the image, strange ships came into focus. They were unlike any vessel Nelson had seen. Sleek, curved, almost organic in appearance. "Record everything," Nelson ordered, "and scan for any survivors, escape pods, emergency shelters, anything." For 6 hours, the squadron searched. They found only ruins and death. New Eden, once humanity's greatest achievement in space, had been wiped clean of life. The colony's main city, its farms, its research stations, all gone. 2 million lives snuffed out without warning or mercy. As Nelson recorded his report in his cabin later, he struggled to keep his voice steady. "The attack on New Eden appears to have been thorough and deliberate. No attempt was made to communicate or negotiate. This was not a resource raid or territorial dispute. This was extinction." He paused the recording and closed his eyes. Images of New Eden before the attack filled his mind. He had visited last year. Children playing in parks under an alien but beautiful sky. Scientists proudly showing off new crop varieties adapted to New Eden's soil. A thriving human world. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Miller entered, her face pale. "Sir, we've managed to intercept some transmissions from the departing fleet. Our translation program can't decipher most of it, but we got one phrase clearly." She handed him a datapad. Nelson read the words and felt ice form in his stomach. "The purge has begun." "They're not stopping with New Eden, are they?" Miller asked quietly. "No, I don't think they are." Nelson stood up. "Set course for Earth, maximum sustainable speed. We need to warn everyone." As the squadron turned toward home, Nelson stood at the viewport in his quarters, looking back at the burning world they were leaving behind. In all of human history, no single attack had killed so many people at once. Not the ancient world wars, not the colonial conflicts, not even the brief battles during humanity's expansion to the stars. "Who are you?" he whispered to the distant enemy ships now beyond visual range. "Why did you do this?" He knew humanity would not take this attack without response. Earth and its colonies had been at peace for generations, but the old warrior spirit remained. Humanity had spread to the stars not just with curiosity and hope, but with the determination and grit that had defined the species since its beginning. Nelson thought of Earth's massive shipyards around Mars and Jupiter, the mining operations in the asteroid belt, the research labs developing technologies these attackers had never seen. "You just woke a sleeping giant," he said to the empty space where the enemy had been. "And we have long memories." As the Sentinel and its sister ships accelerated toward Earth, Nelson began preparing the briefing that would change human history forever. Behind them, New Eden continued to burn, a funeral pyre for 2 million souls and for humanity's age of innocence. Ahead lay war on a scale the galaxy had never witnessed. 3 weeks passed since the destruction of New Eden. The news spread across Earth and all 27 human colonies like a shockwave. Grief turned to anger. Anger hardened into resolve. Today, representatives from every human settlement gathered. In the Great Hall of the United Earth Government in Geneva, the room buzzed with tense voices. Screens on the walls showed the burning remains of New Eden from different angles. Admiral Grace Winters entered the hall. The room fell silent. She was tall, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen decades of service. Today, those eyes held a cold fury that made even veteran politicians step back. She walked to the central podium, her uniform crisp and decorated with medals from conflicts most people had forgotten. Behind her, a team of officers and scientists arranged data displays. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice firm and clear. 3 weeks ago, Commander Jack Nelson and his patrol squadron discovered the complete destruction of New Eden Colony. All 2.3 million settlers are confirmed dead. Images appeared on the screens. Orbital shots of glass plains where cities once stood, molten rock where forests had grown, boiled away oceans that had teemed with transplanted earth fish. "We have identified the species responsible," Winters continued. She nodded to a scientist who brought up a new image. It showed one of the alien ships, captured from Nelson's recordings. They call themselves the Vexar Dominion. The image changed to show biological diagrams. The aliens were tall, with multi-jointed limbs and armored bodies. They had 4 eyes arranged in a line across their angular heads. "Our scientists have studied the limited data we have," Winters explained. "The Vexar evolved on a harsh world with few resources. Competition was extreme. They developed a culture where expansion is not just desired, but necessary for survival. They view other intelligent life as competition that must be eliminated." A murmur ran through the crowd. President Alan Garcia stood up. He was a stocky man with a weathered face and steady hands. "Have they responded to our attempts at communication?" "Yes, Mr. President," Winters replied. After multiple attempts across various frequencies and formats, they sent one message. She pressed a button, and a harsh clicking voice filled the hall. "Your kind will be removed." The assembly erupted. Some shouted in anger, others called for immediate military action. A few demanded evacuation of outer colonies. President Garcia raised his hands for quiet. Gradually, the noise died down. "I have spent the past 3 weeks in constant meetings with military leaders, scientists, and colony representatives," Garcia said. "I have reviewed all options. I have considered every possible response." He walked to stand beside Admiral Winters. "Humanity has always sought peaceful solutions. Since we reached the stars, we have met 6 other intelligent species. With all of them, we established diplomatic relations. We trade, we share knowledge, we respect boundaries." Garcia's voice grew harder. "The Vexar have rejected this approach. They have committed genocide against our people without provocation or warning. They have stated their intention to continue until we are extinct." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of colony leaders, military officers, and Earth representatives. "Let me be clear in our response," Garcia declared. "As of this moment, every shipyard, every factory, every resource at our disposal will be dedicated to one purpose: the creation of the largest war fleet ever assembled." The room grew completely silent. "The Vexar have made a catastrophic error," Garcia continued, his voice rising. They destroyed one human colony. 700,000 warships will be our reply. For a moment, no one moved or spoke. Then a colony leader from Alpha Centauri stood. My world pledges all resources to this effort. Another representative rose. Tau Ceti stands with Earth. One by one, they all stood. Earth and colonies, always with their small disagreements and politics, united completely for the first time in history. Admiral Winters stepped forward again. I have already drafted initial plans for what we're calling Project Retribution. Every military vessel we currently have will be deployed to protect our remaining colonies. Meanwhile, we will begin the largest buildup of forces in human history. Screens changed to show shipyards around Mars and Jupiter, mining operations in the asteroid belt, and manufacturing centers across Earth and the colonies. We estimate it will take 4 years to reach our target of 700,000 combat-ready vessels, Winters explained. This is not just about numbers. Each ship will carry technology superior to what the Vexar have shown. We will not just match them, we will overwhelm them. As the meeting continued into the night, the declaration of war was broadcast to every human settlement. People watched on streets, in homes, and in colony domes across 27 worlds. Jack Nelson viewed the broadcast from his new posting aboard the UES Defender, one of Earth's largest existing warships. Around him, crew members watched with grim satisfaction. "Do you think it's enough, sir?" asked Susan Miller, who had transferred with him from the Sentinel. 700,000 ships? Nelson thought about the burning world of New Eden, the 2 million voices silenced forever. "It has to be," he said quietly, "because the alternative is extinction." Across human space, people went to work with new purpose. Factories that had made farming equipment now produced armor plating. Shipyards that had built exploration vessels now laid the keels for destroyers and cruisers. Research labs redirected all efforts to weapons and defense systems. On Mars, the largest shipyard in the solar system tripled its work crews. The foreman, Ben Harris, had lost his sister and her family on New Eden. As he watched molten metal pour into molds for ship hulls, he felt a grim satisfaction. "This one's for Sarah," he whispered as the first new warship frame took shape. In orbital labs around Saturn, Dr. Olivia Ross led a team developing new propulsion systems. She had been studying peaceful applications before the attack. Now her brilliant mind focused on making human ships faster and more deadly than anything the Vexar had. "We need at least 2 major technological advantages," she told her team as they worked through another sleepless night. "If we can't outgun them yet, we'll outsmart them." Even children joined the effort. Schools across human space added military, history, and tactics to their lessons. Teenagers volunteered for early service training. The youngest collected scrap metal or grew extra food to support the workers. The Vexar had expected to destroy a divided, peaceful species unprepared for Tutarwar. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant with a history of warfare stretching back thousands of years. President Garcia toured a new shipyard built in Earth orbit. As he watched a cruiser take shape, an aide approached with a datapad. "Sir, intelligence reports the Vexar have destroyed another world. Not human, but the Zentari, a species we've had friendly contact with." Garcia's eyes hardened. "Add it to the reckoning that's coming." As the first year of preparation ended, humanity changed from a peaceful, exploring civilization to a war machine with one purpose: survival. And beyond survival, retribution. The Vexar were still out there, moving through space, destroying worlds. But now, for the first time, a force was building that could stop them, and the Vexar had no idea what was coming. 1 year passed since humanity declared war on the Vexar. Captain Olivia Ross stood on the observation deck of Luna Command, watching as another group of warships left Earth orbit. The ships looked like silver needles against the blackness of space. Each one carried weapons that didn't exist a year ago. Olivia had been a civilian engineer before New Eden. Now she wore the uniform of the United Earth Defense Force and commanded the UES Retribution, one of the new Nemesis-class dreadnoughts. The ship was 4 times larger than any vessel humans had built before the war. Commander Peter Wright joined her at the viewport. He was a career military officer, with a shaved head and serious eyes. The mining operations in the asteroid belt have increased output by another 15%, he reported. The Jovian shipyards are now producing a cruiser every 14 hours. Olivia nodded. And Mars? 6 destroyers per day. They've converted the entire northern plains into factory space. Similar reports came from all across human space. Alpha. Centauri's shipyards worked non-stop. The research stations around Tau Ceti had developed new shield technology. Every colony, no matter how small, contributed to the war effort. How many ships do we have now? Olivia asked. Just over 200,000 combat-ready vessels, Wright replied. With another 500,000 in various stages of construction, we're ahead of schedule. Olivia turned from the viewport. The Retribution begins its trial runs tomorrow. I want you to push the engines to their limits. We need to know what this ship can really do. Yes, Captain, Wright said with a slight smile. The crew is ready. They've been waiting for this. The UES Retribution left dock the next morning. It was 500 meters long. It was a monster. Its main gun could crack a small moon. Its engines, designed by Dr. Kevin Hayes and his team, used a new type of quantum propulsion that gave it speed no human ship had ever achieved. Olivia sat in the command chair on the bridge, feeling the slight vibration as the massive engines powered up. All systems online, Captain, reported the operations officer, Lieutenant Frank Wilson. Weapons systems green. Shields at maximum. Take us out, Lieutenant, Olivia ordered. Set course for the Jupiter testing range. The Retribution moved away from Luna Command, accelerating smoothly. Other ships in the area moved aside, their crews watching the new dreadnought with pride and hope. On a secure channel, Admiral Winters contacted Olivia from Earth Command. Captain Ross, I'm sending you new intelligence reports, Winters said. Her face on the screen looked tired but determined. Deep space probes have given us more information about the Vexar. Olivia reviewed the data as it came through. The probes, disguised to avoid detection, had monitored Vexar activities in nearby star systems. The aliens were methodical, moving from planet to planet with terrible efficiency. 3 more non-human civilizations had fallen to their advance. They're getting closer to our space, Olivia noted. But they've slowed down. Yes, Winters agreed. They've encountered something unexpected. Resistance from the Arxur, a species we've had limited contact with. This has forced the Vexar to commit more resources than they planned. That gives us more time, Olivia said. Exactly. Use it well, Captain. The Retribution is the first of 50 Nemesis-class dreadnoughts. What you learn in these trials will help the others. After the communication ended, Olivia studied the star map showing Vexar movements. They were still at least 2 years from reaching human-controlled space, assuming they maintained their current pace. They think they have all the time in the world, she said quietly to herself. They have no idea what's waiting for them. The Retribution reached the Jupiter testing range 3 days later. This remote area of space beyond Jupiter's outer moons had been converted into a massive military training ground. Hundreds of automated drones simulated enemy ships. Artificial asteroids provided obstacles for navigation drills. Begin weapons. Test sequence, Olivia ordered. The Retribution's main gun charged with a low hum that vibrated through the ship. On the bridge, Weapons Officer Lieutenant Aaron Foster monitored power levels. Target acquired, he reported. Test asteroid A7, distance 300,000 kilometers. Fire when ready, Olivia said. The gun discharged. A beam of concentrated energy, invisible in space, struck the asteroid. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive rock cracked from inside, glowed red, and exploded into thousands of pieces. Direct hit, Foster reported with a smile. Destruction complete, power system stable. For the next week, the Retribution ran drill after drill. The Ande, new engines pushed the ship to speeds that would have torn apart older vessels. The shield systems deflected impacts that would have destroyed previous defense systems. The crew, all volunteers who had trained together for months, worked with growing confidence. During a short break, Olivia received a transmission from Dr. Hayes at the Quantum Warfare Division on Earth. Captain, we've made another breakthrough, the scientist said, his eyes bright with excitement. We've found a way to detect Vexar ships even when they try to hide their energy signatures. How soon can we implement it? Olivia asked. The software update is ready now. Hardware modifications will take about 2 weeks per ship. Start with the Retribution, Olivia said. We'll serve as the test platform. Throughout human space, similar advances were happening almost daily. Engineers who once designed entertainment systems now created targeting computers. Doctors who had treated common illnesses now developed ways to counter Vexar biological weapons. Farmers grew food with one hand and trained with weapons with the other. Earth, once divided by old national borders, now functioned as a single war machine. The colonies, once focused on their own development, now shared every resource without hesitation. In a secure meeting room at Earth Command, Admiral Winters gathered her top commanders. Jack Nelson, now promoted to Admiral, was among them. So was Susan Miller, now a captain with her own ship. The time has come to move from preparation to action, Winters told them. Our first battle groups will deploy beyond our borders next month. Intelligence suggests the Vexar will reach the Procyon system within 6 months. We will meet them there. Nelson studied the battle plans. We're sending 150,000 ships? That's almost our entire current fleet. Yes, Winters replied. The Vexar must understand from our first encounter that they face not just defeat, but annihilation. We'll continue building ships here while the battle groups deploy. As the meeting ended, Nelson spoke privately to Winters. Do you think it's enough? Even with our technological advances, the Vexar have experience in exterminating entire species. Winters' eyes were cold. The Vexar have never faced humans before. They've never encountered a species born of a world where life itself is constant competition. Every civilization they've destroyed so far evolved in more peaceful environments. Earth shaped us differently. For better or worse, Nelson agreed. For this moment, Admiral, Winters said, it's for better. The Vexar believe they are the ultimate predators. We're about to show them what real predators look like. As Olivia Ross completed the Retribution's trials and prepared to join the first battle group, she received her official orders. The human fleet would make first contact with the Vexar in the Procyon system. The waiting was over. The response to New Eden was about to begin. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Vexar continued their advance, unaware that the next civilization they encountered would be the one that ended their dominion forever. 2 years and 8 months after the fall of New Eden, the vanguard of humanity's armada entered the Procyon star system. 150,000 warships divided into 20 battle groups. They made no attempt to hide. Their engines burned, bright against the darkness of space. Fleet Admiral Daniel Harris commanded from his flagship, the UES Judgment. He was 52 years old with a weathered face and steady hands. Before the war, he had been a peaceful explorer. Now he led the Mao, largest fighting force humans had ever assembled. All ships report ready, Admiral, said his executive officer, Commander Amy Evans. Battle Group Omega has taken position near the outer planet. Harris nodded. Begin broadcasting on all frequencies in the Vexar language. The message was simple. We are humanity. You destroyed New Eden. We have come in response. They sent it continuously for 3 days as the fleet spread through the system. Intelligence reports had confirmed that the Vexar would arrive soon. This system was next in their path of destruction. On the 4th day, sensors detected unusual energy readings at the edge of the system. Multiple objects emerging from faster-than-light travel, reported the sensor officer. Configuration matches. Vexar vessels. Harris leaned forward in his command chair. How many? Initial count shows approximately 30,000 ships, sir. Harris felt a moment of satisfaction. The human fleet had a 5-to-1 advantage. The Vexar clearly weren't expecting to find humans here, so far from Earth. All battle groups to combat positions, Harris ordered. Direct Battle Group Omega, to make first contact. Rear Admiral Maria Clark commanded Battle Group Omega from the UES Vengeance. She had been a tactical officer on a small patrol ship before the war. Now she controlled 7,500 warships. Her battle group formed a wide half-sphere facing the oncoming Vexar fleet. They're moving into attack formation, Clark's tactical officer reported. Their speed is increasing. Hold position, Clark ordered. Shields at maximum. Weapons charged, but do not fire until my command. The Vexar ships were sleek, organic-looking constructs that moved with unnerving coordination. They spread out like a giant hand reaching for the human vessels. When they came within 500,000 kilometers, they launched their first attack. Energy weapons that lit up space with blue-green light. Shields holding, reported Clark's defense officer. No damage to any ships. Clark allowed herself a small smile. The new shield technology developed by human scientists was working. The Vexar weapons, so devastating against unprotected planets, couldn't penetrate these defenses. Return fire, she ordered. All ships, full barrage. The human fleet fired, as one. Thousands of energy beams crossed space. The Vexar ships tried to evade, but humans had studied every scrap of data from New Eden. They had analyzed Vexar movement patterns. They had prepared for this moment. The first wave of fire destroyed over 1,000 Vexar ships. The alien fleet briefly pulled back, then attacked again with different weapons, missiles that split into multiple warheads. Some got through. 15 human ships exploded, but the rest of the fleet adjusted their defenses and continued firing. Clark contacted Admiral Harris. The enemy is testing our capabilities. They're trying different weapons to find our weaknesses. As expected, Harris replied, implement Battle Plan Theta. Clark nodded and gave new orders. Her battle group changed formation, creating what appeared to be a weak point in their defenses. The Vexar fleet immediately concentrated fire on that area. When the alien ships closed in, human vessels hidden behind nearby moons emerged and attacked the Vexar from behind. Caught between two forces, over 5,000 alien ships were destroyed in minutes. The battle continued for 14 hours. The Vexar fought with ruthless efficiency, sacrificing some ships to test human defenses, then changing tactics when they found no success. They tried biological weapons, which human ships detected and neutralized before they could reach their targets. They attempted computer attacks, but human systems had been designed with new safeguards. Humans had spent years preparing for this fight. The Vexar were facing a species whose entire history was marked by conflict and innovation in warfare. By the 8th hour, the Vexar lost half their fleet. By the 12th hour, they attempted to retreat. The human fleet pursued, cutting off their escape routes. We cannot allow any to return to their main forces, Harris told his commanders. No survivors must report what they found here. On her ship, Olivia Ross directed the retribution through the battle. The massive dreadnought had already destroyed over 200 enemy vessels. Its advanced sensors tracked Vexar ships trying to hide behind planets or moons. Target locked on the Vexar command ship, reported Lieutenant Foster. Distance 800,000 kilometers. Fire main gun, Olivia ordered. The Retribution's primary weapon discharged. The energy beam traveled the distance in less than 3 seconds. The Vexar command ship, 3 times larger than its companions, exploded in a ball of light. Without central direction, the remaining Vexar ships fought with less coordination. The human fleet pressed its advantage, methodically destroying vessel after vessel. When the 14th hour ended, Admiral Clark made a final report to Harris. Enemy fleet neutralized, sir. All Vexar ships confirmed destroyed. The cost had been high. 9,000 human ships were destroyed or damaged beyond repair. 45,000 crew members dead, thousands more injured. But the victory was complete. Harris addressed all ships in the fleet. We have drawn first blood, but this is only the beginning. The Vexar will adapt to our tactics and technology. So must we. Analyze all battle data. Prepare for the next engagement. Across the fleet, crews who had trained for years but never faced real combat began to process what had happened. They had faced the enemy that destroyed New Eden. They had won. On colonies and stations throughout human space, people watched recordings of the battle. There was no celebration, only grim satisfaction and renewed determination. The Vexar could be beaten. The production of ships and weapons increased. More volunteers joined the fleet. Meanwhile, deep in Vexar territory, their ruling council received reports of the defeat. For the first time in their history of conquest, the Vexar faced a species that could not only resist them but defeat them in open battle. The Supreme Dominator, leader of all Vexar, called an emergency meeting of commanders. This human species has resources and technology we did not anticipate. We must learn everything about them. A military commander responded, "We have sent probes to infiltrate their territory. We will gather intelligence and prepare a proper response. We cannot allow them to gain momentum," the Supreme Dominator declared. "Recall fleets from Sectors 3 and 4. We will concentrate our forces and crush these humans before they become an even greater threat." As the human fleet secured the Procyon system, Admiral Harris received intelligence reports about Vexar movements. They were pulling back from other fronts, gathering their forces. "They're afraid," Jack Nelson observed in a secure communication with Harris. "They've never had to retreat before." "Fear makes them more dangerous," Harris replied. "But it also confirms what we hoped. They can be beaten. And if they can be beaten, they can be destroyed." The human advance had begun. The Vexar were about to learn what happened when you awakened a sleeping giant. 4 years after the destruction of New Eden, the full human armada gathered at the edge of Vexar territory. 700,000 warships carrying 45 million military personnel. The fleet stretched across space farther than the eye could see, even on the most powerful view screens. Grand Admiral Lisa Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Final Judgment. She was 50 years old with short black hair and eyes that had seen too much death. Before the war, she had been an administrator on a peaceful colony. Now she commanded the largest military force ever assembled by any species in known space. "All fleet groups report ready, Admiral," said her Chief of Staff, Captain Eric Barnes. Chen nodded. "Begin the advance. All ships to maintain formation." The massive armada moved forward as one, entering the Vexar home system. Intelligence from advanced probes had confirmed the Vexar had pulled back all their forces to defend their homeworld. 500,000 ships arranged in defensive rings around their planet. As the human fleet approached, Chen opened a channel to all ships. "This is the moment we have prepared for. New Eden will be avenged today. Fight with discipline and precision. Remember those we lost." The Vexar detected the human fleet's approach. Their ships moved to intercept, but something had changed in their tactics. Instead of the aggressive attacks they had used in previous battles, they held back. "In tight defensive formations, they're afraid," observed Admiral Jack Nelson from his command ship. In the 4 years since discovering the ruins of New Eden, he had fought in 12 major battles against the Vexar. He knew their tactics well. "They should be," replied Admiral Maria Clark over the secure channel. "They never expected us to reach their homeworld. They never expected us to build a fleet this size." Chen opened communication with the Vexar. "This is humanity," she transmitted. "You destroyed one of our colonies. You murdered 2.3 million of our people. You declared your intention to remove our kind from existence. Now we have come to deliver our response." For several minutes there was no reply. Then a transmission came through. The Vexar Supreme Dominator appeared on the screen. Its armored carapace showed signs of age, its 4 eyes focused intently on Chen. "We recognize our error in judgment," it said in a clicking, translated voice. "We offer reparations and territorial concessions. We seek peace." A murmur ran through the bridge crew. This was unexpected. The Vexar had never offered peace to any species before. Chen's face remained hard. "New Eden can never be restored. Its people can never be brought back. You chose to make humans your enemy. Now you will face the consequences of that choice." She cut the transmission and gave the order. "All ships, commence attack." The human fleet moved forward in perfect coordination. 4 years of war had turned them into a frighteningly efficient machine. The newer ships carried weapons and defenses the Vexar had never seen before. Even their older vessels had been upgraded with technology developed during the long conflict. The Vexar fought desperately to defend their homeworld. They used every weapon, every tactic they had developed in thousands of years of conquest. Ships on both sides exploded into clouds of debris. Energy beams crisscrossed space. Missiles traced burning lines between the fleets. On the UES Retribution, now bearing the scars of dozens of battles, Captain Olivia Ross directed her crew with calm efficiency. The massive dreadnought had become famous among the fleet for destroying more enemy vessels than any other ship of its class. "They're concentrating their fire on our left flank," she reported to Chen, "trying to create a gap in our formation." "Reinforce that sector," Chen ordered. Battle Group 7 to move to support position. The battle raged for 3 days. Space around the Vexar homeworld became a graveyard of ships from both sides. Human vessels fought with a cold fury born of 4 years of war and the memory of New Eden. The Vexar fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction. By the 3rd day, the Vexar fleet had been reduced to less than 50,000 vessels. The human armada, despite heavy losses, still had over 500,000 ships operational. The outcome was no longer in doubt. Chen ordered a ceasefire. Her ship established direct visual communication with the Vexar leadership in their planetary capital. "You have a choice," she told the Supreme Dominator. "Unconditional surrender with these terms: complete disarmament, supervision of your society for the next century, and integration into the galactic community with strict limitations on your expansion. Or we finish what we started." The Supreme Dominator's armored carapace showed damage from a partial collapse of its command center. Its usual arrogance was gone, replaced by resignation. "We surrender," it said simply, giving humanity the first surrender in Vexar history. As the human fleet established orbit around the Vexar homeworld, Captain Frank Mitchell stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Memorial. The vessel had been named in honor of New Eden's victims, and its crew was composed entirely of people who had lost family in the colony's destruction. "I never thought we'd actually make it here," Mitchell said quietly to his executive officer. "From one destroyed colony to the conquest of the most aggressive species in known space. All in 4 years. The cost had been immense. 120,000 human ships destroyed, millions of personnel lost, 4 years of humanity's progress devoted entirely to war. Every family across human space had lost someone in the conflict. Yet even in victory, humanity demonstrated what truly set it apart from the Vexar. Medical ships descended to treat injured civilians on the alien world. Relief supplies followed. The occupation would be firm, but not cruel. President Garcia addressed humanity from Earth. "Today marks the end of this war, but also the beginning of a new chapter for our species. We have demonstrated that humanity will defend itself with unmatched resolve. Yet in victory we choose mercy over vengeance, rehabilitation over extinction. The stars will know that humans protect their own, but they will also know that we strive to be better than those who wrong us." On a hill overlooking what had once been the Vexar capital, now partly in ruins, Commander Jack Nelson supervised the construction of a memorial. He had come full circle, from discovering the destruction of New Eden to witnessing the surrender of those responsible. The memorial contained the names of every human lost in the conflict, beginning with the colonists of New Eden. Nelson ran, his fingers over the first section of names, remembering the burning world he had found 4 years ago. The final inscription read, "They destroyed 1 human colony. 700,000 warships was our reply. Let the galaxy remember both our wrath and our wisdom." As human ships began the long journey home, leaving occupation forces behind, other species throughout nearby space watched with newfound respect and caution. The peaceful humans had revealed themselves to be the most formidable warriors the galaxy had ever seen. They had built the largest fleet in history in just 4 years. They had defeated a species that had been undefeated for millennia. And then, most surprisingly, they had shown mercy. The message was clear to all watching. Humanity wished for peace. But if forced to war, they would bring a response so overwhelming that no enemy could stand against it. In the decades that followed, as ships returned to exploration rather than battle, as factories returned to civilian production, as the Vexar slowly integrated into the galactic community under human supervision, One lesson remained clear. The stars belonged to many species, but when the darkness of space threatened peace, humanity stood ready to light the way, or to light the fire,